All right, 2.6, divide real numbers. So, just a definition because it's going to come up. You're going to hear it. Different points and whatever. The reciprocal of a non-zero number A, so it can be positive or negative, just not zero, written as 1 over A, is called the multiplicative inverse. So we have an inverse property of multiplication. And that just says that the product of a non-zero number and its multiplicative inverse is 1. So mathematically, that would say that A times the multiplicative inverse, 1 over A, is equal to 1 over A times A, so we can write it either way, and that would be equal to 1, because the A's would cancel, okay, top and bottom, okay, on either side, either way you write it, and leave you with 1. Now, this is assuming that A is not equal to 0, because we can't have 0 in the bottom. So we have a division rule. This says that to divide a number A by a non-zero number B, multiply A by the multiplicative inverse of B. So I once had a professor in college tell me that we never divide, we only ever multiply by the inverse, which is technically true, but dividing just sounds a little nicer, so we're gonna divide. But what this looks like is if you have A divided by B written like this, because that's how your book is most often going to write it, this is the same thing as having A times 1 over B, assuming B is not equal to 0, because we can't have a 0 on the bottom of a fraction. And ultimately, I would think about this as A over B when I'm doing that, because sometimes you'll just leave your answer that way. Sometimes it'll actually reduce down and cancel out a little bit. So we've been having all the scenarios of like if I have both numbers are positive, both numbers are negative, one's positive, one's negative. We've had all those scenarios for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and now we're going to have that for dividing. So the sign of a quotient, So that just means when we divide, what sign do we use? So we have 3 little points here. The quotient of 2 real numbers with the same sign is positive. The quotient of 2 real numbers with different signs is negative. And then the quotient of 0 and any non-zero real number is 0. So if you have 0 divided by any number, the answer is 0. So in terms of signs, these follow the same rules as multiplication. So same sign positive, opposite signs negative. So if you know the rules for multiplication, rules for division just follow. And I'm not going to actually write it, but at the bottom of page 105, there's a table of the review of signs for all of the things that we've done. So you could just kind of refer to that if you need it. But what happens, or how do you know if it's positive, negative, or 0? But anyways, that's there for you. All right, so we're going to be looking first at how to find a multiplicative inverse. Okay, so if it's just a whole number, okay, it doesn't matter what the sign is, the sign's going to stay the same with that. You are going to write it as 1 over whatever that number is. If it's already a fraction, we flip the fraction over. Okay, so I want the multiplicative inverse of -9. So that means I have -1 over 9. And the negative can go on the top, the bottom, or out front. It doesn't matter. It means the same thing. Number 6, -1/2. So what would my multiplicative inverse of that one be? Yep. So negative, yeah. And then since it's over 1, we don't have to write the 1, so it would be -2 over 1, or we can just write it as -2. So if it's over 1, when we rewrite it, we can get rid of the 1. Otherwise, it would, whatever the number is, would have to stay. 8, -5 over 9. What would the multiplicative inverse of that one be? Yep. -9 over 5. And then number 10, -2 and 2/5. So we need to make this an improper fraction first. We have a mixed number. So what would the improper fraction be here for this mixed number? Change the mixed number to an improper fraction first, and then we'll do the multiplicative inverse.
5.
Yep. Negative 12 over 5. So then what is my multiplicative inverse? You have to do the same thing like you did up here. Yep. Negative 5 over 12. So if they give you a mixed number to start with, you've got to make it just a regular fraction, and then you can flip it for its multiplicative inverse. Any questions about those ones? All right, then the next one say to find the quotient. Okay, so we'll be dividing now. So 12, negative 18 divided by negative 6. Now, do you just happen to know what negative 18 divided by negative 6 is off the top of your head?
3.
3. So, it is equal to 3. I will show you out how to do it just so that if you had another one that you didn't know off the top of your head, something that you wouldn't know, you would know how to set it up. So, we would have negative 18. And what we did back up here was we said that I can multiply by 1 over, so the multiplicative inverse of whatever I'm dividing by. So I would multiply by 1 or negative 1 over 6. Now, they have the same sign, so what is my final answer sign going to be? Positive, so it's going to be positive, so I can get rid of that. I can either rewrite this as 18 over 6. Okay, I like to think about my stuff this way when I'm going to do it. And then you can just reduce it down to give you 3. So if you know it off the top of your head, you're more than welcome to go ahead and just write it down. But if it's one that you don't know, this is how you would set it up. Okay. All right. Number 14, we have 15 divided by negative 3 over 4. So I'm dividing, okay? So I need to multiply by its multiplicative inverse. So what is the multiplicative inverse of this?
4 over 3, negative 14.
Yep. So I'm in 15 times negative 4 over 3. So now we can reduce this down. How many times does 3 go into 15?
5.
So I can rewrite that as 5. So now I'm just left with 5 times negative 4, which is what?
20. Negative 20.
Yep, negative 20. Opposite signs is negative. All right, this next one, they kind of flip things on us a little bit. They have negative 2 over 3 divided by 2. So the second thing the thing that's written after the division symbol is always what we're going to write the multiplicative inverse of. Okay, so we copy down the negative 2/3 times, what is the multiplicative inverse of 2?
2 over 1, or 1 over 2.
Yep, 1 over 2. So if it's just a whole number, we always write it as 1 over whatever it is. If it's a fraction, we flip it. So now my 2's can cancel here. So that leaves me with what?
1 over 3.
Yep, and then don't forget the negative, so negative 1 over 3. (18) negative 1 over 5 divided by negative 6. So what would I do with this one?
You would make negative 6 with negative 1 over 6.
Yep. Negative 1 over 5 times negative 1 over 6. Now what? Is there anything that can cancel?
No.
So we multiply across the top and we multiply across the bottom. So what would my answer be? Our first, is it going to be positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive because they have the same sign.
So 1 over 20, or
5 times 6.
okay.
I was like, I know you know what it is. I was like, you just said the wrong one.
I was like, is this right? That's not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Great parts.
All right, 20.
Yeah, wait, before we move on, why wouldn't the ones cancel out?
Because they're ones.
They're not, well, partly yes because they're 1, but also they have to be, one has to be on the top and one has to be on the bottom for them to cancel.
Okay.
All right, number 20. Negative 1 divided by negative 6 over 5. So how would I do this one?
So it would be negative 1 times negative 5 over 6.
Yep. And what is that going to give me?
Five over 6 negative. Oh, positive 5 over 6.
Yep. The opposite, or sorry, I suppose say opposite sign. Same sign, so it becomes positive, and then 1 times anything is the anything, so. All right. One more of these. If I can find the right problem. 22. Negative 1/3 divided by 5/3. So what do I do here?
Would you flip both of the signs? Or do you
Or
want-
just the one behind.
So we only ever flip the one that's after.
Okay.
The one before is always just gets copied down.
So negative 1/3 times 3. But 3.
Yep.
Wait, so it's like
Great
keep
part.
change flip.
Yes, that's yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if y'all had heard that before. Yes.
Okay.
So you
Yeah,
might just
we
keep
learned
Okay,
it
yes.
that way.
That makes,
I always say,
that makes
so
you really
my mom always said, keep it, change it, turn it, which is the same thing. And then my teacher said something pretty similar when I did it. I've heard Miss Holloway says keep, change, flip. And then I say multiply by the reciprocal. So, yes.
That would make it.
Okay,
really
yes.
easier
Sorry,
for me,
I did not.
Because I was like.
I was gonna do that, but then I was like, I don't want to confuse you because I just taught you multiplicative inverse. So yes, keep, change, flip.
Okay.
Yes, if you know how to do that, you're good. This is the hard part about teaching, like, a class that I haven't taught the precursor to. So like, I don't know what you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, have you heard that before? Okay, well, yes, you have. So now just,
Okay, yeah. Because I was like.
yes, keep, change, flip.
Because I was like looking at it, I'm like, keep that one. You're changing the division and then flipping the. It's just keep, change, flip. Right?
Yes, yes, it is. See, that's why I should ask these things before I just assume, but I didn't want to confuse you if you had heard it before.
Yeah, I'm probably.
Okay, well, now that we've cleared that up, what would this be then?
Would you take away the 3?
Yep, 3's cancel, so you have what?
1/5. Negative 1/5.
Yep. Fantastic.
I just came to the house like, okay.
Have y'all ever found the mean of numbers? Or average? Have you heard that before? Take the average, find the average. Okay, that's what we're doing tomorrow.
Mean, medium, and low? Those things? Those?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But just mean for this section, but yes.
My favorite was low.
Okay.
I don't remember any of them.
Alright, so
mean.
this is all for today. Tomorrow we'll do mean, and then we're going to do stuff of simplifying the expression. So, you know how with the distributive property, how you had like a number outside and then you were multiplying it by both pieces inside? Well, now we're going to be trying to figure out what number inside we can take out so we can cancel something on the top and the bottom.
3 words just cleared the whole thing. Like,
3 words just made your life so much easier,
I
yes.
was so confused. I was like, there's so many rules.
Like, every teacher just says a different thing.
I know, well, because see, I would have said multiply by the reciprocal. And I was like, that's going to really confuse them. But that's what I say later on in math. So if you get me again at some point in math,
Yeah.
that's what you'll hear.
Okay.
Now we'll know.
I was like, multiply by what?
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, the books, like, are not consistent. It's like the book teaches it, like, such a confusing way. So it's like, but I'm sitting here like, well, I guess that's probably how you've learned it in the years past because these books are, like, all the same brand. So they probably all teach it the same way.